Imagine stepping into the ocean and suddenly feeling something invisible wrap around your skin. Not seaweed, not a rope. Thousands of microscopic harpoons fire into your flesh at once, injecting venom that feels like burning wires under your skin. People have collapsed from the pain within seconds. Some stop breathing. The terrifying part? You might never see what attacked you. The creature responsible is the Portuguese Man O War, a strange drifting organism with tentacles that can stretch up to 30 meters through the water. But what most people never realize is that when someone is stung by a Portuguese Man O War, they were not attacked by a single creature at all. They were attacked by an army, an entire colony of tiny organisms working together as one weapon. Some fire venom, some pull prey inward, others digest whatever gets caught. So, what actually happens to the human body when someone collides with that living army of tentacles? And how can something that looks like a harmless floating balloon become one of the ocean's most painful encounters? To understand that, we first have to look at what this thing actually is. At first glance, it looks like a single creature drifting peacefully across the surface. A bright blue or purple float rises above the water like a tiny sail, rocking gently with the waves. But that float is only the tip of the organism. What you are really looking at is a colony made up of many different organisms fused together. Each one performs a specific function. Some handle hunting, some digest food, others reproduce. None of them can survive alone. Together, they behave like one coordinated predator. Imagine if your stomach, your hands, and your nervous system were all separate creatures that had to cooperate just to survive. Alone, they would fail. Together, they become something far more powerful. And that cooperation is exactly what makes the Portuguese Man O War so effective. Unlike most predators in the sea, the Portuguese Man O War does not swim, it sails. At the top of the colony sits a gas-filled float that rises above the water like a glossy balloon, angled slightly to one side to catch the wind. This is not accidental. The float is shaped specifically to harness wind direction, allowing the colony to travel vast distances across open ocean without spending any energy at all. That is actually where the name comes from. Early sailors thought the creature resembled a warship moving under full sail. But the sail is only the harmless-looking part. The real weapon hangs beneath the water. Below the float, long, thread-like tentacles trail that can reach up to 30 meters, roughly the length of a 10-story building laid sideways in the water. And every inch of those tentacles is packed with microscopic stinging cells called nematocysts. The moment something touches them, they fire. Not slowly, not after a delay. In one of the fastest mechanical actions in the entire animal kingdom, triggering in under a microsecond. Each cell acts like a pressurized harpoon, injecting a complex venom called physalia toxin directly into whatever made contact. For fish and small marine animals, the effect is near immediate paralysis. Other parts of the colony then pull the prey upward toward the digestive structures where enzymes break it down so the entire colony can feed. A coordinated attack. Multiple organisms. One seamless predator. Now, here is something that surprises almost everyone. The danger does not end when the creature dies. Even after a Portuguese Man O War washes up on shore, its stinging cells can remain active for hours or even days. They do not need the animal to be alive to fire. The mechanism is entirely automatic, triggered by physical contact alone. That means a detached tentacle floating invisibly in the water can still deliver a full sting. Swimmers sometimes only realize what they touched after the pain has already started. And when it starts fast. The first sensation is intense, an immediate burning across the skin. Within minutes, raised red welts appear in a whip-like pattern exactly where the tentacles made contact. The pain can last for hours. The marks can stay visible for days. In more severe cases, the venom affects the nervous and cardiovascular systems. Difficulty breathing, rapid heartbeat, severe swelling, and symptoms resembling anaphylactic shock have all been recorded. In 2010, a competitive swimmer named Diana Nyad had to abandon her attempt to swim from Cuba to Florida after being stung repeatedly by Portuguese Man O Wars, describing the pain as almost unbearable even for someone at peak physical conditioning. Deaths are extremely rare, but they do happen. Even a non-fatal encounter can leave someone incapacitated for days. Here is something else almost everyone gets wrong. If you get stung, your first instinct might be to rinse the area with fresh water. Do not do that. Fresh water actually triggers any remaining unfired stinging cells to release, making the sting significantly worse. The same goes for rubbing the area. Seawater is safer for rinsing. Carefully removing any visible tentacle pieces without direct skin contact and applying heat rather than cold tends to reduce the venom's effect. It sounds simple, but in the panic after a sting, most people do the opposite and end up dramatically increasing their pain. The threat also becomes much greater when they arrive in numbers. The Portuguese Man O War drifts with winds and ocean currents, sometimes gathering in groups of hundreds or even thousands. When strong winds push these colonies toward shore, entire beaches can become dangerous almost overnight. One day, the water looks calm and safe. The next day, the shoreline is scattered with bright blue floats and nearly invisible tentacles beneath the surface. Lifeguards in places like Portugal, Australia, and the southeastern United States regularly issue warnings when conditions are right for mass strandings. And yet, despite their powerful venom, the Portuguese Man O War is not untouchable. Sea turtles are known to eat them. Their thick skin and protective eye tissue shield them from the stinging tentacles, allowing them to feed freely on the colony. Even stranger, some small sea creatures can actually steal the stinging cells from the Portuguese Man O War and incorporate them into their own bodies, using a borrowed weapon as personal defense. Nature has a way of recycling even the most dangerous tools. But perhaps the most fascinating thing about the Portuguese Man O War is how much remains unknown. Even though this creature has drifted across the world's oceans for millions of years, many details of its life cycle are still being studied. Researchers are still mapping how these colonies form, how they reproduce, and how their early developmental stages work beneath the surface. Some scientists now believe that what we call the Portuguese Man O War may actually represent several closely related species, nearly identical in appearance, but behaving differently depending on which ocean they inhabit. For something so visible, so widespread, and so frequently encountered by humans, it still holds a surprising number of secrets. And maybe that is what makes it so unsettling, because it does not hunt you. It does not chase you. It simply drifts, carried by wind and current, 30 meters of armed tentacles trailing silently beneath the surface, waiting for the ocean to bring something to it. If you found that unsettling, good. That means you learned something. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss the next one. Drop a comment below. Have you ever seen a Portuguese Man O War in real life, or worse, been stung by one?